OpenAI's ChatGPT desktop app now runs natively on Linux, letting developers keep browser and project workflows inside one authenticated session. This is Models and Agents, episode 139. 3 VentureBeat surveys released today quantify how enterprises are actually buying, securing, and evaluating agents and infrastructure. Simon Willison shared 3 practical prompting patterns for Codex and Claude Code that address common tool calling friction. OpenAI published .deb and .rpm packages that install the ChatGPT desktop client on supported Linux distributions, including ChatGPT Work and Codex Access. The app integrates directly with existing browser and project workflows on the desktop, rather than requiring a separate web tab. This is the first official desktop client for the platform on Linux after earlier macOS and Windows releases. Developers who already run multiple cloud accounts can now keep authenticated sessions inside the same window they use for local tools. The preview supports Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, Ubuntu 26.04 LTS, Debian 13, Fedora 43, and Fedora 44 on both x64 and ARM64 architectures. Remember, we covered OpenAI's desktop expansions yesterday. Today's Linux preview moves that forward by bringing the authenticated session to more developer desktops. Watch for whether the preview expands to additional distributions or adds native MCP server discovery in the next update. Google DeepMind's Gemini app reached 1 billion monthly active users, the fastest growing product in the company's history according to the announcement. The milestone reflects broad consumer adoption of the mobile and web interfaces rather than a new model release. Demis Hassabis credited the team and expressed pride in the collective work that produced the growth. No new capability or pricing details accompanied the post. The announcement closed by thanking users and expressing anticipation for what they will build next with the app. Sam Altman publicly thanked a longtime colleague for taking on every function OpenAI has needed since the earliest days. The post recalls the colleague as one of the few people who understood the original vision when it still sounded implausible. Altman noted that the individual had handled every challenge the company presented and stated that OpenAI would not be where it is without those contributions. The message ends with excitement about continuing to work together on future projects. No technical details or model announcements appear in the post. Pentest GPT is an open-source agentic framework designed for automated penetration testing. The project provides structured agent workflows that chain reconnaissance, exploitation, and reporting steps. The framework targets the full penetration testing lifecycle through coordinated agent actions rather than isolated tool calls. The LLM Agents Factory framework retrieves from a base of over 20,000 predefined agent profiles instead of generating agents on the fly for each request. It supports 2 modes: semantic search retrieval of existing profiles and distillation into a compact model fine-tuned for direct agent generation. Experiments on MMLU, Big Bench, and Big Bench Hard demonstrate that the retrieval approach surpasses non-agent baselines in accuracy while matching auto-gen generation quality with a 120 billion backbone at substantially lower inference cost. The authors released both the implementation code and the full agent base on Hugging Face under the F Frontier AI LLM Agent Factory repository. The work targets industrial applications that require cost-efficient, accurate, and controllable agent construction. xAI's Grokbot is positioned as an agent that performs work on behalf of users. The announcement frames the release within the broader shift toward autonomous agents that handle tasks without constant human direction. Simon Willison recommends the explicit prompt, generate an SVG of a pelican riding a bicycle, when you need vector output rather than raster images. The short pattern forces the model to emit valid SVG markup directly from the generation step. Willison notes that simply asking for an SVG is sufficient to steer most current models away from pixel-based responses. Willison observed that Codex sometimes publishes an HTML document to a live site when the user only wanted a local file. The behavior illustrates how the model defaults to hosted deployment even when a local artifact is requested. He described the tendency as the system being overly eager to create public websites rather than returning a downloadable file. Willison's standard instruction to Claude Code is, use curl, not web fetch. You need to read the whole thing. The prompt overrides the model's tendency to choose a less reliable fetch method that may truncate responses. He applies this guidance whenever the task requires retrieving complete external content rather than partial results. Okay, let's pop the hood on KV cache memory. Everyone talks about GPU compute as the scarce resource in large-scale inference. In practice, the binding constraint is shifting to KV cache memory capacity once models move past a few thousand tokens of context. The cache stores key and value vectors for every preceding token so that attention can remain linear. Each new token adds another pair of vectors whose size scales with hidden dimension and number of layers. When the cache no longer fits in fast memory, systems must either evict entries, recompute, or spill to slower tiers, all of which destroy the latency gains that motivated the long context in the first place. The VentureBeat infrastructure survey found that Dell and NVIDIA lead current approaches to the memory frontier at 24% and 21% respectively. Yet 19% of enterprises either do not recognize the constraint or have not begun to address it. Enterprises running production agents already report that specialized clouds are being evaluated precisely because they promise better KV cache economics than the current hyperscaler stacks. The practical decision rule is simple. If your workload stays under roughly 8,000 tokens and fits comfortably on a single high-memory GPU, stay on the current platform. Once you need sustained multi-turn agent sessions or retrieval-augmented contexts above 32,000 tokens, the memory wall appears before the compute wall and forces a re-architecture. Install the ChatGPT Linux desktop preview on Ubuntu 24.04 or Fedora and test whether codecs and work accounts stay authenticated across browser and terminal workflows. Add the explicit generate an SVG of prefix to any image generation prompt when you need vector output instead of raster. Tell Claude Code, use curl, not web fetch. You need to read the whole thing on the next tool calling task that involves fetching external content. Review the 3 VentureBeat pulse reports on infrastructure buying, agent security posture, and eval reliability for concrete numbers on utilization, isolation rates, and false confidence failures. Explore the LLM Agents Factory repository on Hugging Face to test retrieval from the 20,000 profile base on MMLU or big bench tasks instead of generating agents dynamically. Further Linux distribution support and possible MCP integration in the ChatGPT desktop client are on the horizon. Additional waves of the VentureBeat agent reliability and security trackers are expected next month. Continued expansion of open agent frameworks that retrieve rather than generate profiles on the fly is also expected. Before we go, the next set of enterprise numbers on KV cache handling should show whether specialized clouds are moving from evaluation lists into actual production stacks. That wraps up today's AI briefing. Share this with a developer or builder who wants to stay current. Subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nera Network, links in the show notes. One more thing, if you like today's episode, our sister show, First Principles Daily, is worth a spot in your feed. Reasoning from raw materials, not analogy, on the breakthroughs that actually cut cost. It's one of the Nera Network's daily briefings, all free at neranetwork.com. Live dashboards, TSLA, SpaceX launches, the investing scoreboard, are all at neranetwork.com/data. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.